I forgive him, but at the same time, I just want him to see the hurt that's on my face. You can't imagine in my heart.
Police say he shot her twice in the chest, and then as she was falling, he shot 2 more times, then left.
He just walked up, no words, just pulled it out and started shooting. That's what a witness told Dallas police on the night of October 3rd, 2022. The victim, Asia Janae Womack, 21 years old, basketball star, daughter, friend. The shooter, Cameron Hogg, 32, not a stranger, he was her friend. They'd played basketball together almost every week at T.G. Terry Park in South Dallas. But that night, something inside Cameron Hogg had already shattered. 8:30 p.m. Asia is sitting outside with friends watching Monday Night Football. She doesn't see him coming. Cameron parks his car, gets out, walks across the street. No argument, no warning. He raises the gun and opens fire. Asia falls. Her friends scream and scatter, but Cameron doesn't run. He steps closer, stands over her, and continues firing. Then he turns, walks back to his car and drives away. No mask, no attempt to hide. Witnesses see his face clearly, because just 5 hours earlier, Cameron Hogg had played basketball with Asia Janae Womack, and she had beaten him. This is the story of a murder that didn't need to happen. A killing so rooted in ego that even seasoned investigators struggled to comprehend the motive. Welcome to True Crime Files Unmasked. If this is your first time here, subscribe now. Her mother, Andrea Womack, would later stand in a courtroom and say, he couldn't handle being beaten by a woman. A basketball game, a bruised ego, a woman who was simply better. Cameron Hogg wasn't a violent criminal. He was someone Asia trusted. So what happened in those 5 hours between the final buzzer and gunfire on a quiet Dallas street? That's where this story begins. Cameron Hogg wasn't supposed to be a killer. 32 years old, Dallas native, a regular at T.G. Terry Park. He had a job, he had friends, he had a routine. To people in his neighborhood, Cameron was just another guy who showed up, played ball and went home. But beneath that ordinary exterior, there was something fragile. Let's talk about what psychologists call fragile masculinity. It's about tying your entire self-worth to dominance, to winning, to never being humiliated, especially not by a woman. For some men, competition isn't just a game. It's a battlefield. Every loss is a wound. Cameron carried that weight every time he stepped onto the court. Friends described him as overly competitive, the kind who couldn't let go of a bad call, who took losses personally. Cameron had known Asia for years. They ran in the same circles. Asia was younger, faster, more skilled. She played with confidence, talked trash, celebrated her wins. Cameron lost to her a lot. But it wasn't just losing. It was losing while people watched, while they laughed, while the crowd cheered for her instead of him. And every time it happened, something inside Cameron twisted tighter. Here's the paradox. Cameron had no history of violence, no arrests, no red flags. He was just a guy who couldn't handle being embarrassed. And that's what makes this case so chilling. The most dangerous people aren't always the ones you expect. In the weeks before October 3rd, people noticed small changes. He'd leave games early if he lost, stop showing up for days. He took it hard when she beat him, one player told police, like harder than he should have. Because somewhere in Cameron's mind, a decision was forming, a belief that Asia had disrespected him one too many times, and that he had the right to make her pay for it. Before she became a headline, Asia Janae Womack was just Asia. 21 years old, full of life, a daughter who called her mother every day, an athlete who loved the game more than anything. Basketball wasn't just a hobby, it was her identity. Picture a Saturday morning at T.G. Terry Park. The sun barely up, but the court alive with sneakers squeaking on asphalt. Asia is there, always there, hair pulled back, headphones in, eyes focused. She moves like water, smooth, fluid, confident. And when she plays, people stop to watch, not because she's flashy, but because she's good, really good. Asia grew up in South Dallas, where basketball courts doubled as gathering places, where games were about connection, respect. She started at James Madison High School, where she became a standout player, not the tallest, not the fastest, but the most determined. Coaches loved her, teammates respected her, opponents feared her. Asia's mother, Andrea Womack, describes her daughter as a light. When she walked into a room, you felt it. Sunday dinners at the Womack house were sacred. Fried chicken, cornbread, sweet tea, laughter spilling onto the porch. Asia worked a regular job during the week. Nothing glamorous, just steady income while she figured out her next step. But basketball, that was where she came alive. Andrea remembers the smell of her daughter's sneakers by the front door, the sound of her laughter, the way she'd collapse on the couch after a long game, exhausted but happy. She loved that court, Andrea says. It was her safe place. Asia and Cameron weren't close friends, but they knew each other. And Asia didn't hold back, not for Cameron, not for anyone. She talked trash, celebrated her buckets, made sure you knew when she'd beaten you. But to Cameron, it felt like something more. Every time Asia scored on him, every time the crowd cheered for her instead of him, it was humiliation. And Asia had no idea. She thought they were just playing basketball. On October 2nd, the day before everything changed, Asia spent the evening with her mother. They ordered takeout, watched TV. Andrea remembers her daughter laughing. She was happy, just happy. The next morning, Asia woke up like any other day. She had no idea it would be her last. October 3rd, 2022, 3 p.m., T.G. Terry Park. A neighborhood court like thousands across America, but to the people who play there, it's sacred ground. And on this particular afternoon, the court is packed. The temperature is hovering around 85 degrees. There are maybe 15 people gathered, some waiting, some watching. You can hear basketballs bouncing, laughter, arguments over fouls. And right now, Asia Janae Womack is on the court. It's a pickup game, 5-on-5, first team to 15 wins. Asia is on one squad, Cameron Hogg is on the other. Asia is quick, aggressive, she plays smart. Cameron is taller, stronger, but slower. He relies on physicality and gets frustrated when finesse beats force. And today, Asia is on. Asia brings the ball up. Cameron steps up to guard her. She gives him a head fake. He bites. She blows past him, lays it in. 2-0, Cameron's jaw tightens. The game continues, physical, intense. Asia is dominating, hitting jump shots, playing lockdown defense. Every time she scores, she celebrates. But to Cameron, it feels personal. You can see it in his body language. One player would later tell police, "I could tell he was getting mad, but I thought he'd just shake it off." But Cameron isn't shaking it off. The score is tied, 14-14, next basket wins. Cameron calls for the ball. He tries to drive. Asia cuts him off. He goes up for a contested layup and misses. Asia grabs the rebound, fast break. The ball swings back to her, wide open. Swish, game over, 15-14. The park erupts. "Let's go, Asia. She cooked you, Cam." Asia walks past Cameron and extends her hand. "Good game." Cameron looks at her hand, and he doesn't take it. He just stares at her, face blank. Then he turns, walks off the court. Someone calls after him, "Yo, Cam, it's just a game, bro." He doesn't respond. He walks to his car and just sits there, watching Asia. Asia doesn't think much of it. She stays at the park for another 20 minutes. Around 4:30 p.m., Cameron drives away slowly. Asia heads home to shower and relax. She has no idea that Cameron is still thinking about her, still replaying the game, still feeding the rage that's been growing for years. In the hours between 4:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m., Cameron made a choice, not in the heat of the moment. He had time to cool off, time to reconsider. But he didn't. Instead, he armed himself, got back in his car, and drove back to T.G. Terry Park. 8 p.m., Asia is home, showered, changed, relaxed. Her mother calls, they talk for a few minutes. "Love you, baby. Love you too, mama." Asia has no idea those will be the last words her mother hears her say. By 8:15, Asia is outside with friends near the park. It's a warm night. Monday Night Football is on. Asia is sitting down, scrolling on her phone, smiling, safe, surrounded by people. 8:28 p.m., a dark sedan pulls up slowly. Cameron Hogg steps out, same clothes from earlier, no mask. He walks across the street, steady, deliberate. His right hand is at his side, and in his hand there's a gun. One of Asia's friends sees him first, then notices the way Cameron is walking, focused. And then Cameron raises his arm. The gunfire erupts without warning. Asia jerks backward. Her phone clatters to the pavement. Her friends scream and scatter. Asia stumbles, tries to stand, but more shots ring out. She falls. And Cameron steps closer, stands over her, raises the weapon again. Someone is screaming for him to stop, but he doesn't. He fires at point-blank range as she lies motionless. This is execution. Then Cameron simply walks back to his car, calmly, gets in, starts the engine, and drives away. Asia is lying in a pool of blood. Her friends are screaming, calling for help. Multiple gunshot wounds. She's not responsive. Sirens, Dallas police arrive. Then paramedics. They work fast, but the injuries are catastrophic. Asia is rushed to the hospital. 9:23 p.m. Baylor University Medical Center. Doctors do everything they can. But at 9:47 p.m., Asia Janae Womack is pronounced dead. Andrea Womack's phone rings. It's a police officer. "Ma'am, there's been an incident involving your daughter." By the time Andrea arrives at the hospital, it's too late. Her daughter is already gone. "I kept waiting for her to open her eyes," Andrea would say months later. But it was real. Asia Janae Womack, 21 years old, dead because she won a game. 10 p.m., T.G. Terry Park is a crime scene. Yellow tape, floodlights. 6 shell casings, all 9mm, and witnesses, plenty of witnesses. Detective Marcus Williams interviews them. They aren't scared. They're angry. His name is Cameron Hogg. He plays here all the time. We all know him. He walked up, didn't say nothing, just started shooting, and when she fell, he kept shooting. A witness provides a partial license plate. Detective Williams radios it in. The response comes back. Cameron Hogg, 32, Dallas resident, 2018 Nissan Altima. Patrol units are dispatched to Cameron's address, but the house is empty. Within the hour, a bolo is issued. Cameron Hogg, armed and dangerous, wanted for murder. What investigators would later piece together, after Cameron left the scene, he didn't flee. He just drove aimlessly through Dallas, stopped at a gas station, bought cigarettes. The clerk said he seemed calm, like nothing had happened. This wasn't a crime of passion. Cameron had 5 hours to cool down. Instead, he used that time to arm himself and plan. That's premeditation. October 20th, 17 days after the murder, they get a tip. An anonymous caller reports seeing Cameron at a relative's house. 11 a.m., a tactical unit surrounds the residence. Cameron steps out, hands raised, no resistance. He's arrested without incident. Inside, investigators find the murder weapon hidden under a mattress. Ballistics will confirm it matches the casings. The case is airtight. Cameron sits in an interrogation room. Detective Williams tries to get him to talk. Cameron, we have witnesses. We have the weapon. Just tell me why. Cameron stares at the table, doesn't speak. Finally, Cameron looks up. I want a lawyer. Cameron Hogg is formally charged with murder. No bail. And for the next 16 months, Asia's family waits for justice. February 15, 2024, 16 months after Asia was killed. Cameron Hogg is standing in a Dallas courtroom, but not for trial, for a plea agreement. The prosecution had an overwhelming case. Cameron's defense attorney knew a jury would convict easily. Cameron stood before the judge. Guilty, Your Honor. Guilty to murder, the deliberate, premeditated killing of Asia Janae Womack. Andrea Womack sits in the front row. She's been waiting for this moment. The prosecutor reads the facts. Cameron played basketball with Asia. She won. Hours later, he returned armed and executed her. The defendant was upset about losing the basketball game. He felt disrespected. He felt humiliated, and he made a conscious decision to take Ms. Womack's life. The courtroom is silent. A basketball game, that's it. Andrea is given the opportunity to address the court. She stands slowly. My daughter was 21 years old. Cameron Hogg knew her. He played with her. She trusted him. Her voice cracks, and he killed her because she was better than him, because he couldn't handle being beaten by a woman. There it is, the ugly truth. This wasn't just about basketball. This was about gender, about control, about a man whose ego was so fragile that a woman's victory felt like a personal attack. This is about toxic masculinity, about how dangerous it is when men tie their self-worth to dominance. Psychologists call it ego threat. When someone's identity is challenged, some experience a narcissistic injury. For most people, that injury heals. But for others, it festers, becomes rage. And in Cameron's case, it became murder. After his arrest, investigators interviewed friends. No history of violence, but a history of poor emotional regulation. He hated losing, but I never thought he'd hurt someone. Here's what makes this case particularly painful. Cameron had lost to men before, dozens of times, and he never retaliated. But when Asia beat him, when a woman embarrassed him in front of a crowd, that was unforgivable. Andrea saw it clearly. He couldn't accept that a woman was better than him. Investigators checked Cameron's digital footprint. No manifestos, no threats, just silence. Because in his mind, he'd done what needed to be done. For Andrea, the motive didn't bring closure. It brought fury. My daughter is dead because of a basketball game. That's what I have to live with. Back in the courtroom, Cameron shows little emotion. No tears, no apologies. When asked if he has anything to say, he declines. Andrea watches him, searching his face for something. But there's nothing, just emptiness. The judge clears his throat. The courtroom goes silent. Mr. Hogg, this court sentences you to 20 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. 20 years, not life. 20, with parole eligibility after 10. Andrea's face crumples. Family members gasp. That's it, 20 years. After sentencing, Andrea stands on the courthouse steps. Reporters surround her. 20 years, that's what my daughter's life was worth. Asia will never graduate college, never get married, never have children. She's gone forever. And he gets 20 years. A reporter asks if justice was served. Andrea looks into the camera. No, this is a slap in the face. Why only 20 years? Cameron's defense negotiated a plea deal. By pleading guilty, he avoided trial. In exchange, a reduced sentence. 20 years, parole eligible after 10. Asia's family had no say. By 2034, Cameron Hogg could walk free. He'll be 42. Asia, she'll still be dead, forever 21. In her victim impact statement, Andrea said, I forgive Cameron Hogg, not for him, but for me. She looked at Cameron, but I want you to see the hurt you caused every single day in that prison. Cameron didn't react. Outside the courthouse, community activists gathered. Asia deserved better. Black women's lives matter. They weren't just mourning Asia. They were mourning every black woman whose life has been devalued. This sentence tells our daughters their lives are worth less, that a man's ego is more valuable than their existence. Asia's case isn't isolated. Black women are killed by men at nearly 3 times the rate of white women. And the motives: control, ego, the inability to accept rejection or defeat. Asia wasn't killed because she provoked Cameron. She was killed because she existed as a confident, capable woman who refused to make herself smaller. After sentencing, Cameron was transferred to a Texas state prison. He hasn't given interviews, hasn't apologized publicly. Forensic psychologist Dr. Melissa Grant reviewed the case. This is ego-driven violence. The perpetrator experienced public humiliation and externalized it. What's concerning is the premeditation. He had hours to cool down but used that time to arm himself. Cameron Hogg believed he had the right to punish Asia for beating him. This wasn't a stranger. This was someone she knew, trusted. He was her friend, Andrea keeps saying, or at least she thought he was. Here's what haunts investigators. Cameron didn't fire once and regret it. He shot Asia, watched her fall, and shot her again and again. Even as she lay helpless, even as witnesses screamed at him to stop. That's not passion, that's malice. Asia Janae Womack should be 23 years old right now. But she's not, because Cameron Hogg decided his ego was more important than her existence. Asia's family wanted the world to know she wasn't just a victim, she was a person. At her funeral, hundreds gathered. Her former teammates wore their jerseys, number 23. Andrea stood at the podium. My daughter lived with passion. She deserved to grow old. Cameron Hogg stole that from her. Asia's story is tragically common. Every year, thousands of women are killed by men who couldn't handle rejection, couldn't handle losing. More than half of all female homicide victims are killed by intimate partners or acquaintances, not strangers, people they knew. If you or someone you know is experiencing violence, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE. At T.G. Terry Park, there's a memorial now, a painted basketball, Asia's name, her number, 23. People leave flowers, candles, notes. And every time someone steps onto that court, they remember, basketball is just a game, but life is sacred. This has been True Crime Files Unmasked. If Asia's story moved you, subscribe to this channel, share this video, make sure the world knows her name. Because Asia Janae Womack was more than a victim. She was a daughter, an athlete, a light. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one across from you on the court. It's the one who can't accept defeat. Cameron Hogg sits in a Texas prison cell tonight. 10 years from now, he might walk free. But Asia, she'll still be 21, still gone, still a name on a memorial at T.G. Terry Park. Rest in power, Asia Janae Womack. Your name, your legacy, your game, they'll never be forgotten.